first, second, and third ways, and then in the third way we read all the way to page 16, the end of third impossibility. In short, the imaginary and insubstantial thing that naturalists call nature, the imaginary and insubstantial thing that naturalists call nature, if it has an external reality, can at the very most be work of art. It cannot be the artist. It is an embroidery and cannot be the embroiderer. It is a set of decrees. It cannot be the issuer of decrees. It is a body of laws of creation. It is a body of the laws of creation and cannot be the lawgiver. It is but a created screen to the dignity of God. It is but a created screen to the dignity of God and cannot be the creator. It is passive and created and cannot be a creative maker. It is a law, not a power, and cannot possess power. It is the recipient and cannot be the source. To conclude, since beings exist, and as was stated at the beginning of this treatise, reason cannot think of a way to explain the existence of beings apart from the four mentioned, three of which were each decisively proved through three clear impossibilities to be invalid and absurd, then necessarily and self-evidently the way of divine unity, which is the fourth way, is proven in a conclusive manner. The fourth way, in accordance with the verse quoted at the beginning, is there any doubt about God, creator of the heavens and the earth? Demonstrates clearly so that there can be no doubt or hesitation the divinity of the necessarily existent one, hesitation about the divinity of the necessarily existent one, and that all things issue directly from the hand of his power, and that the heavens and the earth are under his sway. Oh, you unfortunate worshipper of causes and nature! Since the nature of each thing, like all things, is created, for it is full of art and is being constantly renewed, and like the effect, the apparent cause of each thing is also created. And since for each thing to exist, there is need for much equipment and many tools, there must exist a possessor of absolute power who creates the nature and brings the cause into existence. And that absolutely powerful one is in no need of impotent intermediaries to share in his communicality and creation. God forbid. He creates cause and effect together directly. In order to demonstrate his wisdom and the manifestation of his names, by establishing an apparent causal relationship and connection through order and sequence, he makes causes and nature a veil to the hand of his power, so that the apparent faults, severities, and defects in things should be ascribed to them, and in this way his dignity be preserved. Is it easier for a watchmaker to make the cog wheels of a clock and then arrange them and put them in order to form the clock? Or is it easier for him to make a wonderful machine in each of the cog wheels and then leave the making of the clock to the lifeless hands of those machines? Is that not beyond the bounds of possibility? Come on, you judge with your unfair reason and say. And is it easier for a scribe to collect ink, pen, and paper, and then using them proceed to write out a book himself? Or is it easier for him to create in the paper, pen, and ink a writing machine that requires more art and trouble than the book, and can be used only for that, and then say to the unconscious machine, come on, you write it, and himself not interfere? Is that not 100 times more difficult than writing it himself?
before the conclusion, in short part, to quality of nature, imaginary and insubstantial. So the quality of nature, it is imaginary, there is no reality. Of itself. Imaginary, imaginary is mevhum, and insubstantial, hakikatsiz. There is no reality of it. No external reality. If it has an external reality, so it is the art. If it has, the external reality of the nature is the art of Allah. Creator. Any comment, idea, or question on this, Mustafa?
Page are we
on? Reading the
16 through 18.
like this machine example. Sometimes it does appear for us to uniqueness and everything, right? That makes it not practical to machine that does these things. Humans, sometimes humans do make some machines. Because if you, for example, to copy things or to, and they try to, invent things like artificial intelligence to make things easy for themselves. Things like that, but like sometimes I guess is it because it's because we're sometimes easier for us to make machines rather than doing things ourselves. It's also because we are limited in terms of what we can reach and what we can do. Is that why, or is really no comparison?
Machines are usually made for mass production. In terms of artificial intelligence or that kind of stuff, you don't do it just to run one algorithm, right? Most of the time, unless it's a research project or something. Do it to do a lot of things, a lot of similar things. This is like you're gonna write that book, particular book, just one copy. You make a machine for that. Things like, especially the living beings.
Similar but not the same.
Yeah, in the universe, none of them are the same. Every person has a different fingerprint, different eye, different face and different DNA.
The machine for each.
Yeah, you need a machine for each and every one of us.
Like randomizations and things like that can't really.
That's the thing. There is no randomization in the. If you make a machine like that, it will stand like example of the. But it will keep standing the same book page again and again and again. But in the universe, there is no machine, you would have to make a new machine for each item out there.
The randomization thing, I mean, there's no randomization in the creation. It's like special made, unique. Every one of it, every one of them. If they were to be random, I mean, you would see other stuff. You know that even though some things we see similar, they are not like exact same.
And I
Like
think
twins, I mean, you cannot recognize them one from the other, but their mothers know it. I mean, and their fingerprints are different.
just to randomize, you preserve things like everything appears to be especially cared for, especially made because it's all artful. They are similar but yet different, yet also very artful. So I guess if it was just a simple randomization type of a thing, guarantee maybe the nose would be on the same plate, but you wouldn't be able to preserve things like art and things like sometimes, right? Like since the algorithms and the things are the algorithms and things that people use in technology are a bit more complicated than printed press now, but still, I guess it is even beyond that because it cannot really preserve those other qualities on top of that. I mean, artful, being wisdom, wise, something being like, for example, the kids are similar to their parents, but they're not the same. Yet they are still beautiful. It's all looks like it's very especially taken care of and cared for. And I guess that's probably why
Even with the, like when they're talking like, there are these assistants, digital assistants, like Siri, or they are customized for each customer. Even though they are customized, they do standard thing. I mean, they give similar answers. So it's not like they are writing a code for you. I mean, nobody uses this. I mean, this analogy is that you're going to write a book and instead of writing it with a pen, you just invent a machine to write it from beginning to end. That's not logical at all. No, it's not.
it's like writing a new code from scratch for each. I guess the way people think are different, the way people react to things are different, different.
This from the screen sign. It's under the discussion of contingents, but it's relevant. As for contingents, it prevails over and surrounds all of the cosmos. For we see that all things, universal or particular, truly or truly juz'i, big or small, from God's throne down to the ground, from the atom to the planet, all are sent to the world with a particular essence, a specific form, a distinct identity, particular attributes, wise qualities, or qualities that reflect wisdom, and beneficial organs, parts. Now, to bestow on that particular essence and quiddity its peculiarities from amongst the infinite possibilities available, to clothe it in its specific, distinctive, and appropriate form, from among the possibilities and probabilities that are as numerous as the forms that may be conceived, to distinguish that being with the identity suited to it from among the possibilities as numerous as the other members of its species, endow with special, suitable, and beneficial attributes, the created object that is formless and hesitant, means the possibilities and probabilities that are as numerous as the varieties of attribute and degree, to affix to that aimless creature, perplexed and distraught amidst the innumerable possibilities and probabilities that result from the infinitude or infinitude of conceivable paths and modalities, to affix to it wise qualities and beneficial organs and equip it with them. All of these are indications, proofs, and affirmations to the number of the innumerable possibilities of the necessary existence, infinite power and unlimited wisdom of the necessary existent, who creates, chooses, specifies, and distinguishes the quality and identity, the form and shape, the attribute and situation of all contingent beings. And when I say all contingent beings, that means everything. All contingent beings, whether they be universals or particulars. I.e., we are not talking, as in the example of the book, we are not talking about all the flashes books printed by the Sözler publications in the year X, right? But we are talking about the juicy, and we are talking about the specific book. For everything too, and then you may have to make a specific machine for every machine. Then we have
Say, yes, it's 100 times more difficult to create a machine that writes a book rather than writing it out oneself. But is it not a way easier because the machine is the means for producing numerous copies of the same book? The answer: through his limitless power, the pre-eternal inscriber continuously renews the infinite manifestations of his names so as to display them in ever different ways. Though this constant renewal he creates, and through this constant renewal he creates the identities and special features in things in such a manner that no missive of the eternally besought one, or dominical book can be the same as any other book. In any case, each will have different features in order to express different meanings. If you have eyes, look at the human face. You will see that from the time of Adam until today, indeed until post-eternity, together with the conformity of their essential organs, each face has a distinguishing mark in relation to all the other faces. This is a definite fact. Therefore, each face may be thought of as a different book. Only for the artwork to be set out, different writing sets as arrangements and compositions are required. And in order to both collect and situate the materials and to include everything necessary for the existence of each, a completely different workshop will be required. Now, knowing it to be impossible, we thought of nature as a printing press, but apart from the composition and printing which concern the printing press, that is, setting up the type in a specific order, the substance that form an animate being's body the creation of which is 100 times more difficult than that of the composition and ordering, must be created in specific proportions and particular order. Brought from the furthest corners of the cosmos and placed in the hands of the printing press. But in order to do all these things, there is still need for the power and will of the absolutely powerful one, who creates the printing press. That's to say, this hypothesis of the printing press is a totally meaningless superstition. Organize a face for each and every human being.
Every moment of each and every human being.
Thus, like these comparisons of the clock and the book, the all-glorious Maker, who is powerful over all things, has created causes, so too does he create the effects. All-glorious Maker, who is powerful over all things, has created causes, so too does he create the effects. Through his wisdom, he ties the effect to the cause. Through his will, he has determined the manifestation of the greater Sharia, the Sharia of creation, which consists of the divine laws concerning the ordering of all motion in the universe, and determined the nature of beings, which is only to be mirrored to that manifestation in things, and to be a reflection of it. Through his power, he has created the face of that nature which has received external existence, and has created things on that nature and has mixed them one with the other. It is easier to accept this fact, which is the conclusion of innumerable most rational proofs. In fact, is one not compelled to accept it? Or is it easier to get the physical beings that you call causes and nature, which are lifeless, unconscious, created, fashioned and simple, to provide the numberless tools and equipment necessary for the existence of each thing, and to carry out those matters which are performed wisely and discerningly? Is that not utterly beyond the bounds of possibility? We leave it to you to decide with your unreasonable mind.
The unbelieving nature worshipper replies, "Since you are asking me to be fair and reasonable, I have to confess that the mistaken way I have followed up to now is both a compounded impossibility and extremely harmful and ugly. Anyone with even a grain of consciousness would understand from your analysis above that to attribute the act of creation to causes and nature is precluded and impossible, and that to attribute all things directly to the necessarily existent one is imperative and necessary. I say, all praise be to Allah for belief, and I believe in Him. Only I do have one doubt. I believe that Almighty God is the Creator, but what harm does it do to the sovereignty of His dominicality if some minor causes have a hand in the creation of insignificant matters, and thereby
gain for themselves a little praise and acclaim. Does it diminish his sovereignty in some way? The answer, as we have conclusively proved in other parts of the Risale-i, the mark of rulership is that it rejects interference. The most insignificant ruler or official will not tolerate the interference of his own son, even within the sphere of his rule. The fact that, despite being Caliph, certain devout sultans had their innocent sons murdered on the unfounded apprehension that the sons would interfere in their rule demonstrates how fundamental is this law of the rejection of interference in rulership. And the law of prevention of participation, which the independence intrinsic to rulership necessitates, has shown its strength in the history of mankind through extraordinary upheavals whenever there have been two governors in a town or two kings in a country. Thus, if the sense of rulership and sovereignty, which is a mere shadow in human beings who are impotent and in need of assistance, rejects interference to this degree, prevents the intervention of others, does not accept participation in its sovereignty, and seeks to preserve the independence of its position so jealously, then if you can compare this with an all-glorious one whose absolute sovereignty is at the degree of dominicality, whose absolute rulership at the degree of divinity, absolute independence at the degree of oneness, and absolute lack of need at the degree of absolute power, and understand what a necessary requirement and inevitable necessity of that rulership is this rejection of interference, prevention of participation, and repulsion of partners. Concerning the second part of your doubt, you said, if some of the worship of some insignificant beings is directed towards certain causes, what deficiency does this cause to the worship of all beings, from particles to planets, which is directed towards the necessarily existent one, the absolute object of all worship? The answer, the all-wise creator of the universe made the universe like a tree, with conscious beings as its most perfect fruit, and among conscious beings he made man its most comprehensive fruit. And man's most important fruit, indeed the result of his creation, the aim of his nature, and the fruit of his life are his thanks and worship. That absolute sovereign and independent ruler, that single one of unity, who creates the universe in order to make himself known and loved, give away to others man, the fruit of the whole universe, and man's thanks and worship, his most elevated fruit. Totally contrary to his wisdom, would he make vain and futile the result of creation and fruit of the universe? God forbid. Would he be content to give away the worship of creatures to others in a way that would deny his wisdom and his dominicality? And although he demonstrates through his actions that he wishes to make himself known and loved to an unlimited degree, would he cause his most perfect creatures to forget him by handing over to causes their thanks and gratitude, love and worship, and cause them to deny the exalted purposes in the universe? O friend who has given up the worship of nature, now it is for you to say, to which he replied, all praise be to God, to Allah, these two doubts of mine have now been resolved, and your two proofs concerning divine unity, which demonstrate that the only true object of worship is He, and that nothing other than He is worthy of worship, are so brilliant and powerful that to deny them would require as much arrogance as to deny the sun and the light.
Question. Questions that they asks the sovereignty in some way, and then he asks what's wrong if some worship something else. I don't get the underlying cause behind these questions. Like why would someone ask that question? What's the point? Why ask?
Sometimes Ustaz gives question of someone, but he puts the critical point inside question also. I mean that while you are looking to the question, also you can get the answer inside it. I think also this question is like that. And maybe the question of them is only the first beginning part. Yani, I believe that Almighty God is the creator, but what harm does it to do the sovereignty of His Almighty God if some minor causes have a hand in the creation of insignificant matters and thereby gain for themselves? Yani, after that, after that, thereby gain for themselves is the part of answer. Actual question, I think, till this point. And because we saw a lot of person thinking like that. And Allah is a very big person, doesn't care about the small things. But they don't think that it means that they also, by means of small things, someone else getting or collecting some raise, praise, or other things from them. They cannot think that it means that. But Ustad puts some part of answer inside the question also. Then we can feel the answer before starting the answer. Can I explain? I don't know. Yeah.
And also maybe, he not only proves and explains Allah is the only creator of the whole universe. He is the only one to be worshipped.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
And also, he gives answer to that question in another place, but one other reason is in Qur'an, there are a lot of verses which reminds us of punishment of unbelievers. Why they deserve it? They are not doing anything. They're just ignoring the Creator. It's kind of an answer to that question as well.
Yeah, I think I understand. Until this point, he disproved kufr, not disproving shirk. Maybe my question is not very logical either. It's just I was just a bit amazed. What benefit does the person asking this? Let's assume possible that some of the worship could be directed to other than God. Right? Let's assume that's possible. And the answer was no, that's okay. What benefit would the questioner derive from this? Right? If you give everything to God, I'm thinking of the first word, for instance, give everything to God, that's comfortable.
Yeah.
You're fine. Right? What's the benefit in giving some of it to something else?
I think it is hard to give everything to Allah for some people thinking. You know that the lesson before, and because of that iman issues is the very big, very large, and some mind because of become smaller because of some sins and other things cannot understanding this huge truth. And how one person can control and create everything with every properties, every approach, everything. And it's
hard to understand maybe for some people. Then it is easy to say that okay, big things, okay, creation or other, but what about the small things? Maybe something else can control small things. There is no harm about it. But they don't think that this also means that this small thing, it means that they will pray to someone else except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I think they cannot tell that there is no problem that if something small things can pray to someone. They cannot tell this point. But they told this one, that also our lecturer, but the school lecturer told that Allah is the greater man. He cannot engage with the small things, And this is his sentence. Yes, Allah created the universe, but he doesn't engage with the small things, and he cannot understand that it means that the shirk, also the aim of the creation of this universe also to collect all this praise to ibadah, and they focused on also the small things, the behavior of the small things, and explained in the second race. And the purpose of creation is the focused on the cüz'iyatın ahvali the
States of the particles.
Huh?
States of the particles.
States of the particles. And if you will give space of the particles to something else, then you lose everything about the aim of the creation of the universe. They cannot understand this point. I think maybe it is easy to say that okay, there should be a greater, but let's give the others to something else, and don't try.
To a thief to steal small things, he's gonna come and take everything.
It is hard to understand this point. And even in some Muslims, if you ask question to them, they can do that. The rain is come from cloud, or something. The elma comes from tree, or this milk produced by cow. Also, we are telling the same, maybe as a Muslim, telling the same fault sentences.
Conclusion: the person who gave up atheistic naturalism and came to believe said, "All praise to be God. I no longer have any doubts, but there are still a few questions about which I am curious. First question: we hear many lazy people and those who neglect the 5 daily prayers ask, what needs has God Almighty of our worship that in the Qur'an He severely and insistently reproves those who give up worship and threatens them with such a fearsome punishment as hell? How is it in keeping with the style of the Qur'an, which is moderate, mild and fair, to demonstrate the ultimate severity towards insignificant minor fault? The answer: God Almighty has no need of your worship, nor indeed of anything else. It is you who needs to worship, for through you are sick. As we have proved in many parts of the Risale-i, worship is a sort of remedy for your spiritual wounds. If someone who is ill responds to a compassionate doctor who insists on his taking medicine that are beneficial for his condition by saying, what need do you have of it that you are insisting in this way? You can understand how absurd it would be. As for the severe threat and some fearsome punishment in the Quran concerning the giving up of worship, they may be likened to a king king who, in order to protect his subjects' rights, inflicts a severe punishment on an ordinary many men in accordance with the degree that his crime infringes those rights.
Same way, the man who gives up worship and ritual prayer is violating in a significant manner the rights of beings who are like the subjects of the monarch of pre-eternity and post-eternity, and is in fact acting unjustly towards them. For the perfections of beings are manifested through the glorification and worship performed by an aspect of them which is directed towards their Maker. The one who abandons worship does not and cannot see this worship. Indeed, he denies it. Furthermore, beings occupy an exalted position by reason of their worship and glorification, and each is emissive of the eternally besought one, and a mirror to the name of the Sustainer. Since he reduces them from their high positions and considers them to be unimportant, lifeless, aimless, and without duties, he is insulting them and denying and transgressing their perfections.
Indeed, everyone sees the world in his own mirror. God Almighty created man as a measure and scale for the universe, and from the world he gave a particular world to each person. This world he colors for him in accordance with his sincere beliefs. For example, a despairing, lamenting, weeping person sees beings as weeping and in despair, while a cheerful, optimistic, merry person sees the universe as joyful and smiling. A reflective man given to solemn worship, how do you say solemn? Solemn? You, yeah.
I'm sorry, I was...
Yeah, you, the other duty for you as a native speaker, you should
correct.
Yes.
Okay, solemn.
Solemn, yes, don't be quiet. Solemn worship and glorification discovers and sees to a degree the certain, truly existent worship and glorification of beings, while a person who abandons worship through either neglect or denial sees beings in a manner totally contrary and opposed to the reality of their perfections, thus transgressing their rights.
Furthermore, since the one who gives up prayer does not own himself, he wrongs his own soul, which is a slave of its true owner. His owner delivers awesome threats in order to protect his slave's rights from his evil commanding soul. Also, since he has given up worship, which is the result of his creation and the aim of his nature, it is like an act of aggression against divine wisdom and dominical will, and he therefore receives punishment. In short, the abandoner of worship both wrongs his own soul, which is the slave and totally owned property of Almighty God, and wrongs and transgresses the rights of the perfections of the universe. Certainly, just as unbelief is an insult to beings, so is the abandonment of worship a denial of the universe's perfections. And since it is an act of aggression against divine wisdom, it is deserving of awesome threats and severe punishment. Thus, it is to express this deservedness and above facts that the Qur'an of miraculous exposition chooses in a miraculous way that severe style, which, in complete conformity with the principle of eloquence, corresponds to the requirements of the situation. Why do we call these hukuk rights of God?
It means that, for example, if someone someone gives you what you need, and that's the right of that person to take from you to praise. If I'm in a bad situation, someone else comes and helps me, and his rights that he can wait from me to praise to him. And therefore the ibadah, hukukullah actually. Yani, because Allah gives everything to us, a lot of ni'mah, bounties. Across these bounties, we have to give Him praise and ibadah and everything. This is actually hukukullah. But because of our situation in the universe, among the other creatures, we are the superior among them, and we have to collect all ibadah of other creatures and they give to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Since all others do their duties, if we don't collect and give to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like that all others never do anything like that. Therefore, if we don't pray, it means that also we don't pay the hukuku, also the right of the creatures also, not only creators. Yani hukukullah, then they includes hukuk ibad, because of our situation among the other creatures. I don't know, is it clear or not? A little bit confused there.
Kainatın hukuk kemalatına karşı tecavüz kemalat.
Ha bir de yani hukuk ibadet tazammun eder meselesi oluyor ya bizim, yani onu da ifade etmek istedim. Yani hukukullah hukuk ibadet tazammun ediyor. Ben o tarafını demeye çalıştım. Ha.
Hukuku kemalat şimdi hiç dikkatini çekmemişti ya. Hukuk kemalatına.
Ha buradaki tecavüz. Ha bu ayrı, oradaki mana. Ben onu sordum zannediyorum.
They go together because creatures or the creation attains its perfection by worshipping God or by manifesting God's names. So it's
wording.
Yani another point here, yani Ustad also explains here that if we don't pray, we cannot understand the real degree of the creatures, because their degree is very high. Yani they are in the situation of the perfect slave, perfect servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And without any ghafla, they pray perfectly and continuously. And this level is very high. This perfection is very high. But if we don't see in that situation, we drop them into the very low level. And like maybe in like the mayor or the leader of the chairman of any person, that if you told him that you are a lazy person, and you denied the perfection of himself. And like this, if we don't pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we never see what happened around, what these creatures are doing always, and we told that all these creatures meaningless things and doing nothing in their life like that. And also this is also killing the level of themselves.
In the ninth word, second point, after seeing your own fault, impotence, poverty, we start or I can say we start recognizing the creator. I want to say here is a divine, saying divine court, divine mercy, eternal episode one. But in general, yes. After seeing your impotence, weakness, faults, and seeing the same thing in created beings, then we start facing up to one who doesn't have all these lackings, right? then when we find it, because of the, his sovereignty of dominicality and power of dominicality and infinite treasury of dominicality, we need to pray, we need to do salat. It means I am recognizing you and I need you and I am asking it from you. When we don't do that, I think we are insulting his power, his sovereignty, his generosity, treasure. Then it requires a severe punishment. And that's try to connect to here, I don't know.
And for example, there is a mission here.
The right of Allah,
Yeah.
or hukukullah, I see it like that.
If there is a mission here or something here, if we can understand the properties or the efficiencies of this mission Allah, then we can understand the value of that one.
Yes.
If we can, what is this? Nothing. We're just standing here. If we are looking with this point of view,
It's a flashlight.
a flashlight just. So if we are looking at this just flashlight, it means that we abandon the value or the perfection of that one. And what is that sun? Sun is just giving light. That's all. What is that tree? This tree is the apple. Tree gives tree the apple. That's all. Yeah, we covered the all perfections of creatures now. No, this is the perfect servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This servant always pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without any doubt, without any ghafla, and always. This son also gives or serves to understanding of the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. By means of the sun, we can understand the light or the nuraniya of the illumination of also the name and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We can understand the value of creatures by means of the ibadah of them. Otherwise, there is no wisdom to create that creatures. Why Allah create sun? Only for enlightenment. This is very small wisdom to create a sun. And by means of ibadah only we can understand the value of them.
Connected to first way and first example of farmer's example. Imagine that sun, us, all the plants, the mechanisms in plants, everything thrown somehow, and at the end you see that a perfect match. The sunlight is for us. We see how sunlight is really necessary for human beings, and how seeing all the created beings in harmony with us, it is all for us, and everything is for each other. So that it is impossible that it is done by something like the wind is coming and hitting the all the story. I don't have to repeat it. The other thing is that this is the physical, maybe all the part we observe directly. The other part we cannot observe directly, but we feel it, we infer, is that when we go to the extreme side, one extreme, you don't accept any creation at all. Everything is by itself. Everything is disconnected from each other, right? And you don't recognize their worship. You said you feel that you are alone in this world, and wahshati mutlaka. That is the hellfire. It is actually that punishment is starting now in this world, in this dunya. With that, sometimes we don't feel it because I am most of the time in gray area, little from the other side. The pain sometimes
We
don't
cannot feel it.
really feel it. So you can easily cover it with something else. So, but when you go to the extreme, it is, Ustad in somewhere else saying this, vahşet-i mutlaka. That maybe people are suiciding because of it. They go to that stage and in vahşet-i mutlaka and they kill themselves.
When we say rights of God, there are rights upon me that I owe to God to praise Him, all the blessings and so on and so forth, but it's only a limited understanding of the rights that I owe to God. Rather, each and every individual owes the presentation of the worship of everything, that everything owes to God.
You know, when I came late, but when I came, you were reading the question. What is the connection between this chapter and this question?
Which question?
Why there is severe punishment if you don't perform your daily prayers. Connection between all the discussions he has done and the question. I didn't see direct relationship between what we have discussed and what he's asking now.
When you say what we have discussed, do you mean the ways?
Yeah, in the text.
The
Yeah.
three ways?
Yeah.
The possibilities?
Yeah. The theme of this chapter and the question.
Everything from these impersonal, unconscious constructs we used to attribute the creation to, we gave them to one creator. We are also seeing that there is wisdom in the creation, and therefore the creator is wise. The next thing you ask is, so what? Right? So what? He created all of this, and the next question, why did he create all of this? From that we conclude that there needs to be a purpose. Then we ask our purpose, what is my purpose in this? That's worship.
Why he didn't say ibadah in general, but he said specific daily prayers? Worship is different than daily prayers, right?
Which question?
The question we read, the first question.
God.
We hear many lazy people and those who neglect the 5 daily prayers as what need has God Almighty of our worship that in the Qur'an.
Maybe that point came to my mind, that that the atheist people, or that people who doesn't want to accept the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sometimes this is because of your thinking, sometimes because of their lifestyle. Yani the ibadah, burden of ibadah, or the load of ibadah, or the order of ibadah sometimes comes to very heavy to them.
Yeah.
And if they will accept existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it means that they have to make ibadah. And because of hesitating to making ibadah, they want to deny existence of God. This is more common than the other one. This is more, not because of the idea or thinking or the what do you call that, the certain things or the sciences.
It's not a claim.
They don't want to enter this type of lifestyle.
It is their wish, maybe. Huh?
They wish that there is no God. Because they have to change their lifestyle. This is very hard for their nafs soil. And then, Ustad start with the proof of the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. while they are accepting some small disturbing things existing, I think, inside their heart that they disturb them. Then the ibadah is coming. Then the first question that they will be enemy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They will be enemy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of order of namaz, salat, and 5 daily prayer. Then the methodology of question, from the methodology of question, we can understand that there is a objection to this order. Why Allah ordered to me 5 daily prayer? Does he need these things? Inside this question, there is a hesitation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Okay, we accept there is God, and why do I need to?
Then we don't want to accept. We are hesitating to accept Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because he ordered to us. Does he need this one? They are very close to each other. Because this denial not come from only from the mentality, coming from nafs. The main thing, that the main ibadah is, they can accept that the sawm, but the fasting, because 1 month a year, that other things okay.
Eat.
But the hardest one, this salah, 5 daily prayer, hardest one. And also the tasaddur and others, but the first one, this is the hardest one. Therefore, they want to deny existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Maybe we should collect these different 2 parts to them, maybe because of this type of wisdoms.
The impossibility of all of these impossibilities are actually clear to intellect. I mean, I don't know, we read it and we affirm, we confirm, but if intellect was left alone, I think each and every intellect will be able to find this out. Right? But what prevents the intellect from exercising its due is...
You have